Hey, this is Professor Triplet, and I'm about to do a demo in Fusion. But if you look at this web page right here, we have a quick After Effects / Nuke demo done for our Polytechnics. And this tutorial that I'm about to do is transferring the Nuke tutorial types to Fusion. So if you want to watch the original and see how it's done in After Effects and Nuke, there's your address right there. Otherwise, we're going to get into Fusion, which is a very, very good alternative to Nuke. And that's what we're going to start with. So here we go. We are in Fusion now. So let me give you a heads up on what we're actually going to be doing. I'm going to show you the actual video output, or something similar, because we're going to basically start from scratch. And if QuickTime will ever open, we'll actually be able to, there we go. So that's me making a crazy face and then doing this little, kind of glowy skull thing over it. So it's just really, really quick, and hopefully it won't take too long. I did want to kind of introduce you to the steps that I basically took to get there. So I have an old version of Photoshop that I own. Keeps me away from the CC, if you know what I mean. And I did a lot of the stuff in here. So we're going to use a 1080p file for this Fusion file. So what I'm going to do is just create the stuff I need in here first at 1080p, and then we'll go from there. It doesn't have to be a 1080p. You can alter things and basically transform them in Fusion, but like whatever, for me it's easier to use the original, or I should say the output size that I'm going to have, and the size I'm working at in Fusion. So in this case it would be 1080p, because then that way I don't have to worry about seeing any size differences and stuff. So we can turn this to film and video. NTSC DV would be one way we could go about it, but hey, what the heck, let's just use this and say okay. And it's going to give us, say, blank document. And of course, this is nice because it sets up the guide so you can see, the safe zones and stuff. Action safe, title safe. Of course, we don't really need that for this. So let's go ahead and get started. And I have a problem here because I want to get underneath this taskbar, and it's blocking me. So I'm just going to have to pull that up a little bit. So let's go ahead and make a new layer. And then I'm going to do a gradient really quick. And I like doing this to show you guys kind of the setup, so you kind of know how this happened from scratch. So I'm going to just do a gradient. You can actually do this kind of stuff in Fusion too. You don't have to do this in Photoshop, but I've known Photoshop for so long that sometimes it's easier. So basically I'm just doing a gradient. I'm holding shift as I do this. And then it goes straight, and I'm going to stop right before the edge, so I basically get it. So it's 100% white in the middle, and it's dark right there. So from there, I can go ahead and I actually want to crunch this down. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that inside of Fusion. I'm going to leave it like this for now, but I'll save this out, and we'll call this, I'll save it out as a Targa, PNG. Even a JPEG could work, but I don't suggest JPEGs. I have a gradient here, but I'm going to make this 2. So I'm just going to make that a second one. And 24-bit is fine because there's no alpha. If I wanted an alpha in there, I'd have to make it 32-bit, and then I'd have to add an alpha through this button here. So anyway, so that's one thing. And then I wanted to show you the skull that I made. Now this is a different size. So the way I did this was I actually got a scan, an actual 3D scans by photogrammetry skull that's like really high def, and then I went into ZBrush, and I think this is the old ZBrush here. I don't think I put my new one up yet. Let's see here. Pin to taskbar. There we go. So I went into ZBrush and I opened the skull, and I'll just pause this for a second until ZBrush opens, and then I can show you what I did. Okay, I'm in ZBrush. I'm going to go ahead and hit hide here. I'm going to go to import, and I'm going to find my skull because it's not on top of my shoulders. Ha ha ha. If I didn't have bad jokes, I'd have no jokes. Okay, so in my Google Drive, I have this anatomy folder where I collect all my anatomy stuff. Here's the skull, and it'll load up into ZBrush, and then I just left click and drag, and then you have to hit Edit or T, and then you can actually just click outside of it, and you can roll it around till it's hitting the angle you want. And if you hold Shift, it'll start snapping as you rotate. It'll snap into the direction that, like whatever, like side or front. Now I want to change this to perspective view, so it's going to be more like that, so it's going to look a little bit more natural. And then in document, I am going to change this, so I'm going to change my document to be the size of my final document, so I know that all my pixels should match. But actually, so ZBrush is weird, so I'm going to show you like a little trick here. So I don't want to go too slow with this, so I'm going to go 1920 times 2 equals, okay, 3840. I'll move that off. So I'm going to go document, let's see here, so we're going to go 3840, and then 1080 times 2 would be, should be like 2160, something like that, I believe. And then we hit resize, and it's going to give me this thing like, oh, it's going to be undoable. I say yes, and then this thing's going to stretch really weird, and that's okay. I'm going to hit Control N. Okay, so at this point, it's actually the 3D object's still in here. It's like over here, and basically you have to draw it back on the canvas. But before I do that, I want to make my background to be completely black. So to do that, you have to come into here, and you gotta go like this. Okay, and let's see if it's actually you can change the color and just go like that. And that might not make any sense. I'm just gonna click and drag here and just go and drag until it hits this black here. Okay, so now don't even worry about all this stuff if you don't want to do it. I'll give you the skull file, but I just wanted to show you how I did it. So if you're wondering, like, how do you make that cool skull? Well, photogrammetry. I pull it into ZBrush, like so, hit edit. All right, so here we go. But then here's a trick. This is why I resized it, is because ZBrush does an anti-alias by default. So you have to hit anti-alias half, like that. So now it's actually anti-aliasing. It goes a little bit slower when you do that. Because it's basically like making this way bigger, but I just want to get a better quality document. So then I went into here, into my materials, and I just hit the outline. And so this is basically, I basically exported a few of these. So I just went to document, export. You can do them as PSDs, that's fine. So that's where we're at. So I'm just going to say skull 02 because I have 01s, and then it's just, I always put like what material it was. And then I'm going to do thin outline because I like to get like a little accentuated. I know this is going in a little bit of depth, but so like this is my way of kind of gradation, of getting like better gradations and stuff. And I'll do one more. And the last one I'll do is I like to use the sketch one, because then I can like pull all these details in. So then I'll just go document, export. It's the same thing. So I haven't touched like the 3D model at all at this point. So you want to keep them all, like keep the skull all in the same place the whole time. And that's it. And then if you ever need like an AOV of like a normal map, you can actually get that right here too. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just because I've got it right here. And I'll just call this N, like so. Okay, and then we go to Photoshop, and I'll show you how I do this. I just open up those files, and let's see, where did I save those to? Because I'm not seeing them. Document, export. Oh, I saved them to anatomy. Wrong spot. That's okay. I'm gonna go on my other screen and grab those. Actually, I'll just do it through Photoshop. No biggie. So I went to the wrong place and saved it in the wrong spot. So let's go back to skull and let's go like that, say open. And then what I'll do is, like, I'll probably make this the top layer. So I'm just going to pull it off to the other screen. And let's see, I'll make that like the next layer. Then this one. And then this one I won't really need. So, okay, so we're going to go like this. I'm going to pull this here. And then I'm going to click on the top bar of the thin outline one. It's right here. But I'm going to leave it off screen. And then I'm just going to grab into this area. And I'm going to hold shift and drag. And you can see it just layered it on top. And then what I can do here is hit like add, and we can kind of see the difference. Like, it's just accentuating the edge a little bit. I know it's very particular. You don't have to go through all that, but I just wanted to show how I come up with an end image. And so then I'm going to go ahead and for all of these, I'm going to add in a hue saturation, and then I'm going to hit colorize, and then I'm going to just pump up the saturation, and we're going to make it green like we did the other one, like so. This one, I don't even remember which blending mode I used for this one. Let's start off, let's do an overlay. And then for this one, so this is basically, now we're looking at this thin accentuated layer. So this one, I did do the add already, so that's probably fine. And let's look at that overlay. Let's just turn it like down a little bit. I don't know if overlay is the right way to go with that. Oh wait, did I do overlay here? I did it on the wrong spot. This is what I meant to say overlay. My bad. Okay, so what this is going to do is when I get the right blending style on here, it's just going to add like a bunch of detail in here. So let's turn this up. And maybe overlay is not the right one. Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. So like multiply. So you can see right here, like it just, if without it, it's just you lose a bunch of detail. So I'd use a multiply, and then I'll just, you know, use the opacity to dial it back. You just click on the opacity and you can slide it back and forth. So that's it. That's how I got that. If you want an alpha in this, like so that it will basically mask out the outside or something from the start when you pull it into Fusion, which you can do, there's a few ways, but I'm going to hit Control A and then Control Shift C. So Control A selects it. You can see the marching ants. Control Shift C will select everything that you can see. So it's not just selecting what's on this layer, it's selecting everything you can see. And then I'll just come to the top and I'm going to paste that. And I'm going to throw this away, so I'm going to get rid of this in a second. But what I want to do is I'm going to use my wand tool and have it on contiguous. So it's only going to select whatever color I hit, it's only going to select within 1 pixel tolerance because I have it set to 1. And so I'm going to select in this black, so it's not going to select anything in the green, and the contiguous means that it's not going to like jump over to the black into here. It's got to actually be connected to the pixels out here. So if I hit that, you can see now if I zoom out, the marching ants are just around the outside. Now if I want to get rid of these on the inside, I can basically do the same thing. I can select it that way, or for that matter, just turn off contiguous and go like this, and then you can see right here that it selects all of that stuff. So, and that's actually fine too. Let's just do it that way. Let's select all the black. But what I want to do is I kind of want to encroach a little bit into the green, so then that way I don't pick up these darker pixels that are mixing with the black background. So what I'll do for that is I'll go into my select here, modify, and then I'll hit expand. So I'm going to expand it by 1 pixel, and you can see I already have it set to 1. You can make it 10 pixels if you want. It doesn't really matter. So I'm just hit OK. So you can see now it's kind of on the inside there. And so let's see here. It's basically grabbing, it's actually technically grabbing the black right now, but I'm going to invert that, and then we'll just paste white in there. All right, so so what I also want to do is I'm going to go to select, and I'm going to go to feather. So feather, which is also Shift F6. I usually use the hotkeys, just you know, the pro way of doing it, if you will. It's just a lot faster. So now what I did is I just feathered it by 1 pixel, so it's just a little softer, which is I think going to work better for this particular alpha mask. So we go into channels, and then I just go ahead and I'm going to go and add an alpha. So just click on this little layer here, and it automatically will make that the first alpha. And then I'm going to hit Control Shift and I, which is invert selection. And any kind of selection is also in the selecting here. So if you want to invert selection, you can see it's right there. Control Shift I. So now what I want to do is I want to paste this white into the alpha channel that so the selection I just inverted. So now I'm going to go ahead and paste that. Now I'm going to hit Alt-Delete, which is the shortcut. And like I said, I suggest using the shortcuts just because it's, in the long run, it's going to be just way faster. Because the other way to do this is you have to go Edit, you have to go Fill, then you have to go foreground color or whatever, background color, or you select your color. You can see how many steps that is, but Alt-Delete fills with your foreground color, and Control-Delete fills with your background color. So if you learn those, then you'll be working just a lot faster. So that's my suggestion. I'm actually going to hit Alt-Delete one more time because I just want to fill it a little bit stronger. You know what? I take that back. Let's just leave it like that. I think that'll be fine. So okay, so that's our alpha. So now what I'll do is I'm going to just throw this layer out. I don't really need it because I keep my file as small as possible. Hit Control-D to take off the marching ants there, the selection, and then I'm just going to save this. And so I had this saved in the wrong spot, but we'll go up here and go back to my special folder here where I keep everything. So this is for week 1 and Skull 2 outline. Let's get rid of the outline. I'm just going to call it Skull 2. And then I'm sure Fusion allows a Photoshop import, but I tend to not do that. What I'll do is I'll just say save as like a target if I want an alpha channel, save, change it to 32-bit, and say OK. And there you go. So now we can go ahead and just close that, and then got a little artifact there, and then we can close that. It says, do I want to save it? I don't care about this one because it's basically just really easy to do. So no, and then we can get back onto Fusion. So I just want to show you the setup. I mean, I know it's not super important. You don't really have to actually watch and do all that stuff, but I just thought maybe people would want to know. So the next thing to do is set up. Let me just close Photoshop. I won't need that right now. So the next thing is I just have a file open here. And so I've got the Skull 2, and I've got the Gradient 2, and then I've got the original footage that I took, and then I just need to drag those into here. So, and it'll automatically, it actually connects them, and I don't really want it to, so I'll just break those connections in a second here. So I'm going to stop this now. So this is like the first part. Again, this is like a primer. You didn't have to watch it. You don't have to do this, but I just wanted to show if you were wondering how I set this stuff up. Oh, by the way, the footage that I did was it's seriously just me and my cell phone. I just grabbed my phone, did some really quick footage. I'm kind of holding it, looking like a goofball, and then making like a crazy smile, and then serious. So, I mean, that's literally all I did. And took just a few seconds, but it's just for demo purposes. All right, thanks for watching this, and I'll see you, or you'll hear me at least, in the next tutorial.